And what is good, everybody? I'm your host, 2400Y2K, and welcome back to BIRD DawGZ, episode 17. Um, this is being recorded after Halloween, so a happy Halloween. I hope everyone had a good Halloween. I didn't do shit for my Halloween. Halloween used to be one of my favorite holidays. I used to dress up all the time. Let's see. I was Sully one year, like the big blue guy. I was that was when I was real young. Then I was Batman. Always loved Batman. Always been a big Batman fan. By the way, shout out to Penguin. I'm not sponsored or nothing, obviously, but it's a hella good series, and I think if you have the time, that you should watch it. It's pretty good. I rock with it. It's pretty dope. It's pretty close to the comics, or not close to the comics. My bad. You just have to watch it. I'm hella tired. This one's also recorded after work. I think a lot of these are gonna be recorded after work because I just gotta get them done. A lot of times, like I just get like cold feet or whatever, and I just don't record. And yeah, I just need to stop doing that. My bad. I need to stop doing that. And so after work, I'm just trying to record these. Because I think it's good for me. It's and I'm trying to be more consistent. So yeah. But I hope y'all enjoyed that last episode. I had so much fun making that one. That was the medieval one, and I love talking about history. If y'all couldn't tell already, I'm a history buff. I love talking about history. It's interesting. Somebody said if you want to learn about history, learn about people, not actual history. Like research about people, not history, because that's what I mean. That's all history is people, is human accounts, and yeah, I've been having fun with it. And so I had a real blast making that last one. Cause yeah, the medieval period, just a crazy time. Another thing I didn't get into in that episode that I wanted to talk about a little bit is like drugs, right? Because I was thinking about it. Me and my homies used to joke about what was the first time when people first tried mushrooms or like any psychedelic really, but the one I can think of that's like natural and probably found pretty easily back then, or could have been found pretty easily back then, is psychedelics. My bad, I'm trying to set up my mic. Ah, okay. I think that should still be good. So, but yeah, I was thinking about psychedelics, and like that must have been crazy because psychedelics, they really do alter your perception and like cause hallucinations. But not only that, they alter like your thought process. And a lot of times when people have bad trips and stuff like that, it's because like the over imagination, your mind overthinks. It's often people who that's why they say like don't trip when you're in like a stressful or bad time, because that's why they say don't trip when you're having a stressful or bad time, because that's like, or at least that's my theory, is like your mind overthinks, right? Because if let's say you're going through a breakup or somebody just passed or something like that, your mind's thinking about that, your mind's overthinking, you're in a bad state of mind, you're in an upset, kind of depressed, whatever. And I think that back then, to have experienced psychedelics like firsthand, and to have done it without any knowledge, like, you know what I mean, any prior knowledge. Granted, I don't know when the first people took psychedelics, but I like to imagine the first Europeans, or you know what I mean, like the or medieval Europeans taking mushrooms, like must have fucked with you so bad, and you think you're crazy, or like, you know what I mean. People now take psychedelics and they're like, "Oh, I talked to God," and it's like, what? You know what I mean? Like, and I can't. I'm not one to say. You know what I mean? I don't really know if that's what you're doing or if that's how it works or what it is exactly. But that's what you think, and that was amplified back in the day. Like I was talking about, like religion and God is responsible for everything, and there's no real science. And like when you take that, you really must believe. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's this game, and I can't remember what it's called, but like the girl has like psychosis, and like she goes through the game, and like she gets visions and hears voices and things like that. And like for her to process it, like, you know what I mean, it's insane. She thinks it's like God and it's these prophecies and these messages, and really it's just like she has a really severe mental illness that is causing these severe hallucinations. And like, that's absurd to think about. Like, you take mushrooms and you're just chilling in the forest, and you're like, you ate them, right? You ate them for food. A lot of like most things are like, you know, a lot of bad things that people consume in the forest, it's food related. So you eat this, and you know what I mean, you think it's food, and it's not. It's psychedelic mushrooms, and like, it's frying you, buddy. Like, think about it. You're just sitting there, and like a half hour goes by, and then you start feeling different. You start feeling, and you know what I mean. It's probably, there could have been good things, but more than likely, since you didn't know what was happening, it probably wasn't good, and you were probably in an environment where you didn't want that to happen. Like, let's say you and a band, like, you know, let's say you and another guy just go out into the forest to forage, find some food. You know what I mean. You got a shelter close by, and you go out there, and you and homie are just walking, and you're finding different things, and you're picking different stuff, and you find these mushrooms, and you smell them, and you go, oh, I've never seen these before. They don't look poisonous. They don't smell rotten. Let's give it a shot. And you eat these mushrooms, and you're just chilling, and then 30 minutes later, like, you're still foraging, you're out in the forest, it's getting dark, and all of a sudden, like, things start to get weird. You start to get tracers. You know what I mean? Stuff kind of gets animated. Stuff gets a little wavy, and they might have been jiving for a little bit, but like I said, I mean, it's so tough to think about, because what did they? You know what I mean? What did they? How would they have reacted? You know, people react off of drugs differently all the time, but I think it would have been probably bad. Me and my friends always used to joke that, like, some dude probably took him, right? Took him home to his family, said, you know, I found these mushrooms in the forest. We finally have something to eat. Took him to the cabin. Everyone's eating them. They're going, oh my, these are so delicious. And then it kicks, right? And it's just chaos, psychosis. I mean, families going nuts. People are fighting each other. And it's just pure insanity. And eventually, a couple days later, some people stumble across the cabin, dude, and they open it. And it's just a horror scene. There's blood. People are bashed. And there's like the dad sitting in the corner, like cradled, like, and like, like, homie, that's probably what might, like, that's more than likely what happened the very first couple times, before people really realized what they did, and before they even tried to understand it. The first people to try it without any sort of understanding, and in the middle of the circumstances that were they were in. I mean, I'm sure Native Americans tried it, and, you know, Asian cultures and different stuff, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about Europeans, because I think they were the funniest when it came to reactions. Just some Britannian just out there in a field, just chomping a bunch of shrooms down. You know what I mean? That to me is hilarious. And yeah, that was just something I was thinking about from the last one, is what it would be like to take psychedelics in the medieval era. Probably pretty wild. I kind of want to get into it more, but I don't know enough, and I don't want to mince words, and I don't want to sit here and do what I keep doing, where it's like, it'd be like like, you know what I mean? But I think it would be very funny, and you know what I mean? And imagine, like, you see some crazy shit. Like, you're out there, and this is just an example. You're out there with bro, and you pick these mushrooms, and you saved them, and you're walking on the path, and you eat them eventually, you and homie, and like, you see a wolf, dog. Like, you're gonna shit your pants, dude. You're gonna be like, whoa, because it's gonna be so altered and so different. Or maybe you don't. Maybe you go, oh, well, I like the dog. Ah, the dog got me, dude. The dog got you. So, in that was just a little thought I had, a little tidbit, something fun. I don't know if that's fun, but yeah, man, that was just something I wanted to talk about. Um, let's see what else I got. What else I got in the bag? Oh, there's these chimp wars that I read about. Right, these are pretty nuts. This was some crazy shit. This showed me how smart they are. Like, obviously I knew that they were smart, but they had actual, like, formal warfare. Yeah, the Gombe chimpanzee war. The Gombe chimpanzee war, also known as the 4-year war, was a violent conflict fought between two communities of chimpanzees in Gombe Stream National Park in Tanzania between 1974 and 1978. A 4-year war between chimpanzees. Like, we're talking monkeys, we're talking apes, like Caesar from Planet of the Apes, like that type of shit, that type of warfare. But it's not quite there. You know what I mean? They're not using guns and stuff. But I think they did like bash people, and I think they used rocks. Let me read into this a little more, right? Prior to the 4-year war, oh, okay, this is just talking about the park. First blood was drawn on January 7th, 1974, when a party of 6 males consisting of Humphrey, Fegan, Jomio, Sherry, Everett, and Rodolph. They were part of the tribe called the Koskela, the Koskelas. Right, that was the tribe of the 6 males. Ambushed, isolated, Kahama. That's the other gang, right? So it's the Koskela and the Kahama. And so here we go. Here we go. Let's get into the story. First blood was drawn by the Kaleska community. 6 adult males consisting of Humphrey, Fegan, Jomio, Sherry, Everett, and Rodolph ambushed an isolated male named Godi while he was feeding on a tree. The Kalaska males were accompanied by one female, Gigi, who charged back and forth around the melee. So they had a cheerleader. They deadass had moral support. Like, they had the um like, I don't even know what you call that. It's kind of like when Vikings or like Celts would go into war, and like their villages or whatever would be right there. Like, the women and stuff would be cheering, the women and kids would be cheering them on from the sideline. That, I guess, that happened in Rome or whatever, like when Caesar was over there. And he says, well, I can't remember if he said, somebody said, like, that was a bad idea, bro. It was bad. Like, they went out there to fight, like, the good fight, and they got slaughtered. They got murdered. So as like the women are cheering and stuff, like, their men are starting to die. They start to freak out, and then Caesar just unleashes the troops. That was just a different bit, but it made me think of kind of how that is. But anyways, they had a female, right? Yeah, it was the Kalaskas. They brought the female too. She charged back and forth around the melee. Despite Agodi's attempts to flee, the attackers seized him, threw him on the ground, and beat him until he stopped moving. Afterwards, the victorious chimpanzee celebrated boisterously, throwing and dragging branches with hoots and screams, and retreated. That's very human. Like, I get where it comes from. That's very human. That's very it's very strange. Um just because like, that's very human, and the way we do things, the way the celebration, it's U.S. troops do it, the Taliban do it, everybody's troops do it, everybody's armies. Like, it's just a natural thing for, I want to say humans, but I guess apes too. That, well, not natural, but this is just one example. But humans, when we went to war, and when we go to war, you see them out there. You see them cheering. You see, it's like when people wave the flag. You know what I mean? It gets the people going, and they start cheering. Y'all ever played World at War? The Russians, oorah, oorah, oorah. You know what I mean? It's war cries. It's war chants. It's the same thing. Wave. It's, you ever see those videos of African warlords, African people going to war? Jeez, that sounds crazy. African warlords, African tribes going to war. They start shooting the K's up in there. They start singing a little song. You watch the Taliban do it. You watch the U.S. Marines in Afghanistan in 2004. Boom, something gets hit. Hell yeah, baby, USA, red, white, and blue. Or they just start laughing, or they go, hell yeah. You know what I mean? I've seen so much footage of planes hitting shit and U.S. troops getting so hyped. I seen it in a documentary where Vietnam, they're talking about one of the jets flew over and dropped some bombs. Oh, hi, buddy. My dog's coming up to me. His name's Boba. He's a good boy. But he's talking about the jets flew over. They say, "Yay jets, yay jets!" Like, it's just a human and kind of a early brain maneuver. I think certain animals do it too, but not to the extent that humans. Apes do it to a certain extent, and humans do it to an even further extent of celebrating after conflict or after a kill, or just anything like that. Obviously, it doesn't happen all the time, but you do see it often when groups, especially gangs, warriors, you know what I mean, two armies clashing when they get a bunch of kills or something like that. It's you know what I mean, the classic "Oorah, Semper Fi." It's the you know what I mean. I'm not gonna say that. That's crazy, but you know what the jihadis be saying, and you see it in Africa, you see in the Asia, go home GI, you know what I mean? They're chanting, they're singing the Native American war cries and the Native American powwows and things like that. Um, it's a common thing of like that celebration after a victory. In a war and a conflict happens in prisons, happens everywhere. I just thought that was an interesting bit. Um, yeah, sorry if that bored y'all or y'all got too into it or something. Um, but yeah, I just wanted to put that. I just wanted to say that because yeah, I thought it was interesting. I'm going to school for psychology, so it's kind of it's it's what I noticed, things like that. But anyways, we'll continue on with the story. We'll continue on with the story, right? After Godey fell, the Kalaska ambushed. Oh wait, right? Okay. Afterwards, the victorious chimpanzee celebrated boisterously, throwing and dragging branches with hoots and screams, and retreated. Once the Kalaska group had left, Godey stood up again, but probably died of his injuries soon after. The first time any of the chimpanzees had been seen deliberately to the first time any of the chimpanzees had been seen deliberately, bro. Though this was the first time any of the chimpanzees had been deliberately seen to attempt to kill a fellow chimpanzee. After Godey fell, Kalaska ambushed and maimed D. In the attack on D, the female GG actually took part in the combat alongside the Kaskela males. Just as in Godey's case, D was badly wounded in the assault and probably died soon after the clash. The third Kahama victim was the elderly Goliath. Throughout the lead up to the war and its initial stage, Goliath had been relatively friendly with the Kalaska neighbors when encounters occurred. However, his kindness was no longer reciprocated when Kalaska patrol consisting of Figian, Fabian, Humphrey, Satan, and Jomio ambushed him. The researcher who observed this attack was shocked by the brutality and fury displayed by the Kaleska group, with Fabian twisting. I don't even know if I can go into all that. I'm not gonna describe it, but yeah, it's pretty bad. They did bro pretty bad. The elderly chimpanzee probably died soon after the attack. Around this point, Hugh also vanished, with Goodall assuming that he too had been killed by the Kalaska. The only three Kahama males left, Charlie, Sniff, and Willie Wally, who was crippled from polio. I guess I'll read a little bit about the beginning or the lead up. I didn't read any of that, so some of these names are unfamiliar and stuff. But all right. The chimpanzees roamed across the hills in territorial communities which divided the chimpanzees into parties ranging from 1 to 40 members. The term Kaskela refers to one of three areas in which the conflict began to emerge during the end of the tenure of the Kalaska's long-term alpha Mike. So as the head of the clan, as the king began to die, right? This is a tale that you could put humans in here, right? This is a tale that we know so well. The conflict began to emerge at the end of the tenure of the Kalaska's king, Alpha Mike. At this point, there were 14 adult males in the community, and 6 of them increasingly spent time in the community's southern territory. Goodall and her colleagues began to refer to this section as the southern subgroup, while the much more numerous remainder of Kaskela was termed the northern subgroup. Over several months, the males of the two subgroups reacted with increasing hostility towards each other. The northerners initially avoided the southerners, whereas the southern males, led by brothers Hugh and Charlie, made forays into northern territory. The brothers were described as fearless by Goodall, and the northern males generally avoided confronting them. Despite the growing tensions, some peaceful contacts between the subgroups were maintained by two older northern males, Mike Rudolph with the southern male Goliath. So, I mean, it's just so interesting to me, right? This is nuts. It's just, like, this reminds me of all the wars we have, and with pick any region you want. It happens in every continent. Wars of territory. Um, Europe, Africa, Asia, all of the Americas. I mean, you go anywhere, it's just how it is. People fight over territory, and it's just so crazy to see it with chimps. You know what I mean? Because they're not as far as we are when it comes to education and brain development. So for them to actually have like territorial wars, and to hear about like terms, like the southern group and the northern group, and the way that they had patrols, and um the moving of the southern group further north, with the two led by fearless brothers, uh Charlie and Hugh, making forays into the northern territory. You know what I mean? If I didn't tell you that was chimps, uh if I just said this the northerners initially avoided the southern areas, whereas the southern males, led by brothers Hugh and Charlie, made forays into the northern territory. You know what I mean? You would think that that's people. You know what I mean? That's two brothers leading an army, or leading their country, or rebel group, or whoever it may be, leading their the southern group into the north, and making forays. It's just very interesting. Um, yeah, sorry if y'all don't like this episode. It's not as silly or fun, I guess. I I didn't research this enough, and now I'm kind of getting into it, and I'm having a ball. I'm having a blast with it. So excuse me on the little chimp war that I'm getting into. Um. Oh, this is a part I didn't read either. This is okay. So this is more on the bit of territorialism and how it relates to humans. Evidence of territorialism was first documented once Goodall followed the chimpanzees in their feeding situations, noting their aggressive territorial behavior. Chimpanzee males would patrol their territories and occasionally raid into the areas of other communities. However, violence during these patrols usually occurred in the form of attacks on isolated females and infants. The male patrols would mostly avoid each other if they met in equal numbers, or if they met in equal numbers, limit themselves to noisy shows of force instead of seeking battle. Again, the shows of force, the bringing your war band out just to show you have a war band, the beating of chests, quite literally. Um, you think of the DMZ, or perhaps a Berlin Wall type of situation. Um, it's just crazy how these are apes, these are animals, these are chimpanzees, and yet they're acting so human. Um, over yeah, yeah, yeah. So the northern males generally avoided confronting the two brothers. Despite the growing tension, some peaceful contacts between the subgroups were maintained by two older males, the Rudolph and Mike, with the southern male Goliath. 2 years after the subgroup's emergence, the factions had developed into fully separate communities. The northern faction was now considered the Kalaska community, whereas the southern faction was termed the Kahama community. At this point, the Kahama had given up the northernmost border areas of their range to Kalaska, but the separatists still controlled an area where the Kalaska had previously roamed at will. At this point, the two communities' patrols would make a show of force when encountering each other. Though there was no open fighting, the situation continued for about a year. By 1974, Kamaha, still led by Hugh and Charlie, with the other males being Gotti, Goliath, and the young Sniff. The Kalaska males were included Satan, Sherry, and we've already gone over all these guys. So, right, so we've already gone over the first attack, and I think the second and third. which is pretty much the entire rebel group, the entire separatist faction. It pretty much taken out. The third, yeah. So they ambushed and maimed D. That was the one we talked about, the female gorilla taking part in, or female chimpanzee taking part in combat. Goliath had been relatively friendly, and then yeah, they ambushed him and killed him as well. Um, which his was the most brutal. They really like tried to hurt him. Like they did hurt him. Like they really tried to get violent with him. His was the worst of all the attacks, I'm pretty sure. This only left three males left: Charlie, Sniff, and Willie Wally, who was crippled from polio. Charlie was the next victim. His death was not directly observed by researchers, but fishermen reported hearing sounds of fierce conflict. 3 days later, his corpse was found with terrible injuries at the Kama stream. Next, the Kalaska chimpanzees attacked an elderly Kamaha female, Madam B. She died of her wounds days later. After Charlie's death, Willie Wally disappeared and was never found. So he either died or he escaped, but he was not going to stay and defend the kingdom. He left, like most people would. The last remaining Kamaha male was the young Sniff. He survived for over a year. For some time, it seemed that he might escape into a new community or be welcomed back to the Kaskelas, but this did not occur. Sniff 2 fell to the war band of the females from Kamaha. 1 was killed, 2 went missing, and 3 were beaten and kidnapped by the Kaskela males. The Kaskela thus succeeded in taking over the Kamaha's territory and spent time after their victory moving into the area and feasting on its food sources. Temporarily, the community increased from 12 to over 15 square kilometers. Again, it separates out, right? This was just a little war, but they are very territorial and like people, because the gains were not permanent. However, with Kamaha gone, the Kaskela territory now butted up directly against the territory of another chimpanzee community called the Kalande. Good all reason that the Kamaha functioned as a buffer, so kind of like a buffer state, kind of like the Soviet Union satellite states, kind of like they're trying to do with Ukraine now, with what they do with Chechnya and Georgia. Kalanda had functioned as a buffer, cowed by superior strength and numbers of. So the Kalanda kingdom, we'll call it, they had superior strength. As well as a few violent skirmishes along their border, the Kaskela quickly gave up much of their new territory. They also lost at least 2 males, Humphrey and Sherry, presumably killed by the Kondala. Furthermore, when Kalaska group moved back northward, they were harassed by foragers belonging to the Mitumba chimpanzee community. They also outnumbered the Kalaska community, beset from that's crazy. See, like, just so interesting, so weird. I know I've said that a lot this episode, but that's so crazy. To the fact that they were trying to retreat, and as they retreated back, they were not even harassed by the Kalande, the ones who were chasing them back, but a completely separate entity, a completely separate empire, not even empire, but it's a completely separate group of apes that was harassing them on their way back. Man. And that was it. That was pretty much what is this? The Gombe chimpanzee war. A 4-year conflict, mind you, for chimps. That was their World War II. And I just thought that was mad interesting. You know what I mean? That's it, just because of how human they act, and how close they are to us and how we act like that, and we judge them for it, and we can see that and view that as primitive, but we don't view it primitive for ourselves. I don't know, just a little commentary bit, especially with the election and everything. I'm not gonna get into that. Don't want to do politics on here, not right now, not as of yet, not as strong. I know I've done it a little bit, but yeah. With that said, though, guys, I think I'm gonna end this one here. This one's kind of a little bit shorter. I think this one will be around a half hour, but that's not too bad. Like I said, I'm just trying to get content out. I'm just trying to record these, be consistent. So forgive me if they're a little bit shorter, but hopefully we'll have more of them, so that'll make up for it. Anyways, guys, thank you as always for liking or for watching, liking, commenting, subscribing, all that, just being there in general. Um, I really appreciate it. I know it's not really a community yet, but I do appreciate it. It kind of feels like it, and keep supporting it. Keep, you know what I mean. Just view it, like just share it. That's really all I need. Liking and all that. That's cool, but just help boost the algorithm, help boost the view count. Like that's that. I really do appreciate that, and so thank you all for listening. Stay tuned for the next one. I should have that one out soon as well. I'll try to, like I said, I'll try and bing these out. And try and have some stamina. But anyway, guys, sorry that was kind of a long outro. It's just hard for me to say bye. I'm one of those type people. I kind of want to go longer, but then again, I don't really know what to talk about. The chimpanzee war I thought was pretty neat. I thought that was fun. So yeah, comment, like, subscribe. I'm out. I hope y'all enjoyed.
What we doing here? I'm swimming in the money, I need scuba gear. What you do this year? I took a trip to Belize to get a souvenir. I'm whiter than some souvenirs. Everywhere I go, they're staring at my